Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Dream Big series, season 2. This is episode number 8. What I thought I'd do today is kind of run through my 3 to 4 week outmark training. So this is going to be like 2 clips from each session that I did last week. It's currently Monday the 14th, so this is covering last week's training week. Like I said, two sets of each training day, covering Monday to Saturday training week. So just kind of wanted to get across what my thoughts are, what I'm thinking during training, what my mindset is going into training, with being 3/4 weeks out. So getting stuck in. This was the first session, which was chest and abs. I think that set I actually progressed on with the Atlantis press, and then kind of what I do with my. If we talk about compounds first, I kind of like to try and maintain as much as I can with my compound work. So I don't think I've moved much away from my growing phase numbers, because I'm an advocate of logbooking every single set that I do, every single working set that I do. So I always jot down what I get, what weight, what reps, what execution was like, and then progress off that, whether that be through load, reps, execution, tempo, things like that. It's not always load progression in a growing phase, but my compound work at the moment, like I said, try and stick to my kind of last week of a growing phase numbers. Obviously, there's going to come a point where fatigue going to set in. I've been in a deficit now for 9 weeks. And I've gone from about 125 to 126 kilo to today I'm sitting around 112 kilo. We had a little refeed yesterday of sushi, so weight was up slightly. This morning was 113.8, but prior to that, all of last week I was 111.1, I think. So we've lost over 10 kilo. So when it comes down to training and training numbers, it's going to be slightly different. You're not going to be able to just shift the same amount of load as you are in a growing phase. If you can kind of tick off every single variable that comes into training, that needs to be done for training, like recovery, nutrition on point, hydration on point, every variable ticked off, and everything is as consistent as you can. I think you can stay fairly close to your off-season numbers. Obviously, there's a little switch up in prep where we do add a bit more PED use. That obviously is to hold on to muscle tissue and strength. As we go into a deficit, we kind of want to hold a certain amount of strength, because otherwise the muscle is just not going to stick around. Depending on how long your prep is, depending on how many shows you're doing that year, you kind of need to last as long as you can with those numbers, and stick them. So my goal for compounds and accessories really is to hold on to my numbers as much as I can, which I actually have been able to do for the past 9 weeks, is kind of hold on to that as much as I can. Obviously there's been days where I've been more fatigued than normal and might have not hit a rep, or the load just did not feel right and was just too heavy for that certain day. Maybe it was a drop in food the day before, maybe fatigue was just setting in, maybe it's just fatigue from cardio, steps, etc. Those type of variables that get added in prep, like cardio and steps, are going to take a toll on training. They just are, and that's that just comes with prep. So making smart decisions has been kind of my main thought process when I'm training. I find it pretty hard to do that because I'm in a growing phase, pushing numbers, pushing weight up, and kind of balls to the wall, which I'm sure everyone is when you're in a surplus. Is kind of every session should be balls to the wall anyway. But when we're in prep and the body's a bit more vulnerable, the joints are vulnerable. We kind of need to look at training in a different light, and look at the overall goal. What is the overall goal of prep? It's to get in nailed condition. It's to get body fat down as much as possible. It's to end prep being fat free. That is the goal. There's no sort of goal in prep of gaining numbers in terms of load progression in training, or progressing lifts, getting PRs and stuff. That is not. You might be able to do that in the first 2 to 3 to 4 weeks of prep when food's still pretty high, but when you're 3 to 4 weeks out, you can make some stupid decisions. Like for instance, we're coming up to leg day now, and I'll kind of go through that in a minute, but it's about just making smart decisions when you're training, and I'm going to learn this every year I do a prep. This is my second prep ever, so I'm going to carry on learning how I deal with training, how I deal with prep, because every prep's different. So every prep's completely different. We're working with a different body. We're working with, your weight's going to be different. The distribution of muscle mass is going to be different. Everything in prep that you do each and every year will be slightly different. The routine doesn't change, of course, but how you do it is going to change just because it's a different body that we're working with. So we're coming up to hack squats now, which I've kind of been battling with for the last 6 or so weeks. It just hasn't really been going my way. I finished my growing phase on 6 plates aside for 10 good reps. I had to take it off to 4.5 plates aside. Now that is very hard for me to do, just because I just hate doing that. But there comes a time where it's necessary, and you'll see here as we go through the set. I'm going for 10 reps. I bottom out at I think 8. You'll just see fatigue just sets in straight away on 1 rep, and that's it. The set's over. It's something you kind of have to realise in prep, that fatigue will set in much sooner than you think. Like that exactly. You just do hit a wall, and there's nothing you can really do about it. So when I mean smart decisions, this is what I kind of mean. You can see how annoyed I was about it. I took like a 3-4 minute rest, and then here we go, going back in 4.5 plates and doing an extra 3 reps to hit my numbers for that day on the hack squat. But yeah, that's kind of what my mindset is like when I'm going into training. It's smart decisions is at the top of my list, execution, and now as we're kind of under 3 weeks out till show, it's more just about pump work. I'm not really focusing on too much load. I will still logbook just to see how I do and get on and just keep that structure and routine in, because it will stress me out more if I didn't have my logbook. But I'm going to kind of pull away from heavy compounds and trying to make reps. I just chase a pump, really, just fill the muscle with blood and go on that way. So that's kind of my mindset. I kind of wanted to get that across, just because it's been something I've been thinking about quite a lot recently. But yeah, hope you enjoyed, guys. I hope you can take something from this if you're going into prep or you're in prep right now, and just think about your training in a bit of a different light when it comes into prep. Keeping intensity high, that's the main thing. Intensity has to stay high. Alright guys, see you next week.